I did my master's thesis on this idea of influence. And I thought, see, here's the thing is, all of our leadership ideas today, it started with one idea, the idea that one person can change or influence another person. And I thought, how did they come up with that idea? And I went back in the literature. I found no study that was dominant that one person actually changed or influenced another person. I could not find one study. Someone made the assumption up. In fact, I even went back to I think it was the 1500s. How many people know Nikolai Machiavelli? Nikolai Machiavelli is the first person who wrote a leadership book. And what did Nikolai Machiavelli say? It's kind of like a lawyer, a consultant guy, giving advice to a king. And he told the king, look, there's only two choices you have when you go invade another country and you want to take it over. One is you take it over, but you leave everybody there, and you just let them be alone. You let them rule the same way they were ruling before you were there. What's the second way? You have to kill everyone. Right? Because he said if you leave one person with the old mentality, what's going to happen? They're going to come back and rebel. And it has happened time after time again. Right? So here's the idea here, is the inefficient. And I always like to give the idea of the little toy with the different shapes in it, and there's the kid's supposed to match it up. And then you got the one kid, and he's trying to put the star in the triangle over and over, and it's kind of cute. Have you ever seen a grown man do that? It's not as cute, right? But that's actually what we do every single day. We try and take a guy and say, we're just going to shove this person in, and if it doesn't work at first, one of my RAs taught me this in the military. It's like the action of force or something like that, where if it doesn't work, you just do it harder and harder until it does, right? But that's not a good way to do it. It requires a lot of resources. It requires people to change. In reality, it relieves management from accountability. Because the management can always say what? It's not my fault. The person, I did all I could for them. And they're to blame. The leadership model actually is where the leader has to create the structure, and they are more accountable. Meaning, if you are a best value expert and you're on a project, and you don't have metrics, or people are confused, or things go wrong, whose actual fault is it?
Your own.
Yeah, it's your own. Right? And I've experienced this many times on our best value projects. And I've tried to do many things. I see it coming, and I tell myself, they're not doing the right thing. This is going to turn out bad. Is Steve in the room? I screamed at people. I was young. Not good, right? I tried to do so many things. I just wasn't smart enough to realize what I had to do to align the people correctly, to make it turn out right. So the more understanding you get and the more expertise, actually the less you have to do. And the more the leader doesn't even have to talk with the people. They just have to make sure the structure is set right. And the more type C people you have or the more blind people you have, the harder it is, of course. The more expert of the leader you need. Okay, so I went into my thesis defense. Yes, question?
I didn't grasp the leader is the constraint thing. Can you explain that?
Yes, the leader is the constraint, meaning your productivity and how much you can produce is now dependent on the leader's ability to utilize the people. I'll give you an example of this. When we talk in our university system, we tell our engineering students, look, how many engineers are graduating from universities every year? Tons of them, right? In fact, so much that there are many people not employed that have engineering degrees. Because to have the technical expertise nowadays, it's 1 in a dozen, right? Everybody does it, right? Or did I say that right? Anyway, there's a lot of them, right? But to have someone who understands how to use those engineers and can employ them correctly, that is the difficult part, right? And that's the part society is having an issue with, is that there's so many people around that can do work, but nobody knows how to utilize them to create value. And that's really what the leader's supposed to do. Does that make sense? That's why
a sufficient number of leaders.
Yes. In other words, the leader is responsible for ensuring people are actually producing value because of the system they set up. And dependent on how good the system is dependent on how many people they can use, right? Most people can only use who? People who are like really expert. Very few systems can use a lot of people who have low education, low training, and can help them produce value.